All right, guys, let's be real for a sec. Dating apps. They can be a bit of a jungle, especially if you're, well, a regular dude. Not a model or anything. You swipe and match, but it's like everyone else has got some secret playbook.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone in feeling that way.
Yeah.
It's a common thing we hear a lot of guys struggling with, that whole like, am I even playing the same game kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly. So what if there was a way to kind of flip the script? Like instead of trying to blend in, you actually stand out. Something that makes her stop scrolling and go, hold on, what's this?
Well, that's precisely where this Inform X2 thing comes in.
Yeah.
That's what we're diving into today.
Right. Informex 2. Gotta love the name, right? So this guide, it's not your usual dating advice. It's different. We're talking about some serious psychology here, how to grab a woman's attention, but not just grab it, keep it, make her want to know more. And no, it doesn't involve shirtless pics or anything like that.
It's all about intrigue, knowing how to use it, because that's powerful stuff.
So Informex 2. Lay it on us. What's the big idea here?
In a nutshell, it's about this strategy. Sounds kind of wild at first, but it involves mentioning a sexual fantasy right there in your bio.
Whoa, okay, hold up. Right out the gate. That's pretty bold.
It is, but here's the thing. It's not about the actual fantasy, not really. It's about what that says about you.
Okay, I'm listening. What does it say?
It says you're comfortable with yourself. You're not afraid to be a little daring, and you're looking for something more than just a fling. It's about depth.
So it's like a signal flare. It's cutting through all the noise, all those generic profiles, and saying, hey, I'm different, I'm interesting. If you're curious, come find out.
Exactly. Think of it like this. Ever had that song stuck in your head, driving you crazy until you finally just listen to it?
Oh, all the time. Infuriating.
That's the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain wants closure. This strategy, it's kind of like that, but with your dating profile.
Okay, now that you mention it, I kind of get it. That fantasy line, it's like that kitschy tune, gets stuck with her, makes her want to know more.
Precisely. It's that open loop she's naturally going to want to close. And that makes her way more likely to check you out, engage, maybe even swipe right.
So not about tricking anyone or pretending to be someone you're not. It's like you're using a bit of, what would you call it, psychology to get that conversation flowing.
Exactly. And the best part is, you can use this on pretty much any dating app, even the ones where people are supposedly looking for something serious.
Right, because even on Hinge, people still want a little mystery, right?
100%. Nobody wants boring. So in Inform X2, this guy, he puts this whole fantasy thing to the test. 30 days on Badoo, the results are pretty wild.
Don't hold out on us. Spill the tea. What happened?
He's getting dates, multiple dates, and get this, he's not even pitching for premium features.
No Tinder Platinum. That's impressive. Music to our wallets.
It shows this isn't some exclusive club, You don't need a ton of cash to make it work.
And it makes you wonder about Badoo, right? I feel like it's the underdog of dating apps, often overlooked.
Right, and the author, he actually talks about that. He noticed that a lot of the, shall we say, high-profile guys, the ones who rely on looks alone, they've moved on to the paid apps.
Interesting. So less competition for us regular folks.
Potentially. Okay, you ready for the killer part? Want to know what his Badoo profile actually said?
Hit me with it.
Straight and to the point. I have a fantasy, 18, and if we match, it means I'd like to make it a reality with you.
Whoa, talk about cutting to the chase. He's not messing around.
And see how he connects the fantasy to matching. It's like this exclusive club.
Yeah.
Just by swiping right, she's already one step closer to knowing the secrets.
Smart. Okay, I'm hooked. Let's hear about these Badoo conversations. First one, how does it start?
He keeps it simple, a classic. He opens with a, hey, how are you?
Okay, that's pretty standard.
Right, but remember, he's not reinventing the wheel. Sometimes, simple is best. It's just about getting things moving.
Don't overthink it, right? So what's her response?
Positive. They fall into a good back and forth. He asks where she's from, finds out she's originally from Colombia, but lives in Valencia now.
Okay, so far so good. Pretty normal. Then what?
Then he asks this really clever question. He's like, hey, have you noticed there are way more Latina women than Spanish guys on this app? Because it seems like that to him.
Ah, sneaky. I see what he did there. He's starting a conversation about something that can both relate to being on this app, but he's also subtly complimenting her, saying he finds Latina women attractive.
Exactly. Two birds, one stone. And it works. She jumps right in, agrees with him. They even joke about how Badoo's like the go-to for Spanish guys to meet Latina women.
So he's building that rapport, making her feel comfortable. But we can't forget about that fantasy line in his bio. It's like, Chekhov's gun, gotta go off at some point.
Absolutely. He could bring it up directly, But he's smooth. He lets her lead the conversation in that direction.
Wait, really? So he just waits for her to ask about it?
He nudges it along just a bit. At one point, he asks her, "Are you one of those girls who reads profiles, or do you just look at the pictures?"
Oh, smart. He's reminding her of that line without actually saying it. Like, hey, remember that thing you were curious about? We can talk about it if you want.
And it's exactly what she does. Admits she reads profiles, then bam. What is your fantasy? The one that 48% of people do. Hook, line, and sinker.
He's done it. She's totally curious. So what's he say? Does he tell her?
This is where it gets good. He doesn't just spill the beans. He tells her he'd rather talk about something like that in person, maybe over drinks.
Oh, smooth move. He's turned the fantasy talk into a date.
And guess what? She's into it. Gives him her WhatsApp number so they can set it up.
That's incredible. He went from a simple, hey, how are you, to a date in a matter of messages. And it all started with that one intriguing line in his bio, "This is gold."
And that's just the beginning. There are a ton more examples in this guide.
All right, I need more Inform X2 knowledge. Let's hear another conversation.
All right, so that first conversation, that was like a masterclass in piquing curiosity. But let's see how this fantasy strategy works in a different scenario. Yeah, this next one, it's a great example of how women, they're actually drawn to that mystery. You know, they like a little bit of intrigue.
Oh, now this, I gotta hear it. Give me the details.
So picture this. The author, he matches with this woman, Sarah, and she goes straight for it. No beating around the bush. She's like, okay, let's talk about these fantasies.
She's bold. I like her already.
Right. And she does it in such a cool way. She weaves it into a question about his Friday night, his taste in food. Like, it's all connected. It's like she's saying, I see you, I'm curious, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Love that. She's owning her curiosity, and it sounds like she's having fun with it. That's going to be refreshing, right?
Totally. Women on these apps, they're bombarded with the same old boring conversations. When something different pops up, something that sparks their imagination, it's a breath of fresh air.
Okay, so how does he handle this direct approach? Does he just spill the beans right then and there?
Here's where it gets interesting. He doesn't jump right into it. Instead, he takes a beat, engages with her other questions about his Friday night, his work, stuff like that. Subtle, but important.
So it's like he's showing her, hey, I'm not just fixated on this one thing. I'm a multifaceted guy. I've got a life outside of this dating app.
Exactly. Attraction, it's not built on one single detail, right? It's about the whole picture. And as they keep chatting, you can practically feel her curiosity growing. She's asking more questions, sharing about herself, and then bam, she comes out and says she's very curious about those fantasies.
The suspense is killing me. Does he finally reveal the big secret?
He does. But he adds another layer of intrigue. Instead of just telling her right there on Badoo, he suggests they switch to WhatsApp.
Classic move. A little risky, but hey, gotta risk it for the biscuit, right? Plus it feels more personal, more intimate.
Exactly. Shows he's serious about connecting on a deeper level. And she's clearly into it. They exchange numbers, he shares the fantasy on WhatsApp, and the conversation keeps flowing.
From a dating app to WhatsApp, that's a win in my book. Okay, now I need a story where a woman's really caught off guard by this whole fantasy thing.
Oh, we've got you covered. Let's jump to conversation 3.
Hit me with it.
So he matches with this woman, and she starts off strong. She's like, your bio is the best I've ever seen. Clearly, she's intrigued, but then she adds, I gotta be honest, it kind of scares me a little.
Ooh, plot twist. So it's not always smooth sailing. Sounds like his approach, it backfired a little. What happens next? Okay, so we've seen the fantasy tactic in action on Badoo, but now let's talk Hinge. It's got that reputation, right? Like people are there for something real, not just playing games.
Yeah, Hinge definitely attracts a more relationship-focused crowd. But that doesn't mean they're not looking for that spark, that intrigue.
Right, because even on Hinge, a boring profile is a one-way ticket to being left on read. Nobody wants that.
Okay.
So how does our Inform X2 author adapt for Hinge? Because you don't get that one-liner bio right. It's all about the prompts, which feels way more serious.
He's strategic about it. Instead of that direct fantasy line, he uses the prompts to subtly show he's adventurous, open to new experiences, comfortable with, well, you know.
So still creating that aura of mystery, but tailored for Hinge. I like it. Got an example?
So there's this prompt, let's discuss over drinks.
Yeah.
And his answer, the things that make life worth living.
Ooh, vague, intriguing. It's like a secret signal for people who are over the surface level stuff. Okay, show me this in action. Hinge conversation, let's go.
There's this one with a woman, Irene. Right off the bat, she's mentioning those intriguing prompts, even calls him a little devil, says she's curious to know more.
See? It's like that fantasy energy. It's woven into his whole profile. She can tell he's not just another Hinge guy.
Exactly. He picks up on that playful energy too, flirts back a little. But then he switches gears, asks about her work, showing he's genuinely interested in her.
Building that connection, showing he's not just fixated on her reaction to his profile. Smart.
And as they're talking, he realizes she seems more into meeting up than texting endlessly. So what does he do?
He goes for it. No time to waste.
Exactly. Reads the situation perfectly. Suggests drinks. She's down. This whole conversation, it highlights how important it is to be adaptable, responsive. The fantasy mention, that's just the initial spark.
It's about fanning those flames, turning that spark into something real.
100%.
Okay, gotta ask. You've mentioned the fantasy this whole time, but we never actually heard what it is. Don't leave us hanging.
He does reveal it in the guide, but he stresses it's not about the specific fantasy itself. It's what it represents.
Right, that confidence, that adventurous spirit, that willingness to be bold, put yourself out there.
Exactly. He wants guys to find their own version of this, something that feels true to them.
So for our listeners out there battling it out on the dating apps, what's the biggest takeaway from all of this?
You don't have to copy this word for word. You don't even have to mention a fantasy if it doesn't feel right. The real lesson is about understanding what makes someone want to know more about you.
Okay, I like it. It's about piquing their curiosity, making them think, there's something different about this guy. I gotta know more.
Exactly. Use your profile, your conversations, to showcase what makes you, you. Your humor, your intelligence, your passions, what makes you stand out.
Give her a reason to swipe right. Love it.
And on that night, guys, experiment, be bold, and most importantly, be yourselves. Even if it means embracing the things that make you a little different. Because in the world of dating apps, that's what's truly attractive.
That's the kind of dating advice we love to hear. Be authentic, be intriguing, and go get 'em. That's a wrap on our deep dive into Inform X2.